He took an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States of America. By some, he's been called controversial.
I'll keep my freedom, I'll keep my guns, try to keep my money and my religion too. Now, keep in mind that some of my guests have been approached by Homeland Security or FBI saying, why are you going on the Clay Douglas show?
My message to those guys, if they're listening this morning, is go get a cup of coffee. Maybe you'll learn something.
We both took the same oath, to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I don't recall there being an expiration date on that. I'm going to keep my big VA, keep my friends the same, keep the government out of my business, and y'all can keep the change.
He is the free American, Clay Douglas.
We know what we need, we know who to blame.
Catch the Free American Hour, weekdays at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern.
I'll keep the USA and y'all can keep the change.
For the podcast and more details, visit www.freeamerican.com or catch the podcast by phone by calling 832-999-8621.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free American Hour. I'm your host, Clay Douglas. And today I'm doing something a little different. I'm going to bring somebody back from the dead to talk to you, because what he knew so many years ago, what we discussed in his living room, the things that we talked about, it was, we were ahead of our time then, and I'm talking about Bill Cooper. Bill Cooper will be coming up to talk about something that's been on my mind a lot recently. My last few shows, I've had Michael Resnick, a medical doctor, talking about his book, Blowing Smoke. I've had Bill Piper on from the drugpolicy.org. And today I want Bill Cooper to speak to you a little bit from the past, because I'm not sure that matters. I've always had questions about religion, politics, all the things you're not supposed to discuss in polite company. Growing up, reading science fiction certainly made me inquisitive about conspiracy theories, and studying history for the last 50 years confirmed in my mind that every war, every major event in history was the result of some kind of careful planning, i.e. conspiracy, warfare by deception, the published motto of one particularly dastardly intelligence agency with well-established links to organized crime, drug running, and has worked together with our own CIA to bring billions of dollars of drugs into this country. Then they arrest and incarcerate millions of Americans for buying their contraband. American heroes like Pat Tillman and Bill Cooper have been killed to prevent them from speaking out about us protecting the opium poppy operation in Afghanistan. I was almost killed for exposing Bush and Clinton's cocaine smuggling operation from Colombia to Panama to Mena, Arkansas. The details of Operation Watchtower are included in my last book, Mystery Babylon, The New World Order Unveiled. The folly of the war on drugs has been the subject of my last few shows. I mean, we're talking, folks, about millions of Americans being incarcerated, fined, and even the innocent are killed. This is a war I've been involved in for a long time. The first novel I wrote was about a world in the future where a man came on the scene by the name of Solomon, a wealthy man of considerable power and wealth, who changed the political face and structure of American society by abolishing all laws against victimless crimes and allowing access to heretofore illegal substances by all who desired them. The resulting revolution spread across the countries to most states, but a few retained current prohibitions and continued to arrest and incarcerate travelers. These states surrounded Louisiana, where New Orleans hosted the headquarters of my character Solomon. Now, this novel was written 40 years ago while in prison in Texas for possessing marijuana, when it was potentially a 99-year sentence in Texas. Today, There are over 15 states where you can smoke it if you pay a doctor to give you a get-out-of-jail card free called a prescription issued by a licensed drug dealer we refer to as doctors. They're not the perfect society I envision, but a society that is slowly come around to the importance of 60. Isn't that what the love revolution of the 60s and the patriot movement of the 90s was all about? Freedom, liberty, and end to war. Wars fought for corporate profits. Now, I'll talk more in a little bit about that novel that I wrote. But the book that I wrote, Mystery Babylon, contains in it the documentation which Bill Cooper is going to share with you in this segment. So let's hear from my old friend Bill Cooper. Try to hear from him. Here, we can get this to work.
7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
This is my daddy's station. I'm Pooh. Classic radio like you always wished it could be. 101.1 FM. Eager.
Lights out on the hour. It is the hour of the time. Lights out for the curfew of your body, soul, and
You're listening to the Hour of the Time. I'm William Cooper. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you have pen and paper as always by your side. Make sure that you remember my admonition. Listen to everyone. Read everything. Believe absolutely nothing unless you can prove it in your own research, your own investigation, in your own right. Now when I say listen to everyone, read everything, believe nothing, from no one, from no source, unless you can prove it in your own research, I mean including me, including your mother, including your preacher, your priest, your neighbor, your husband, your wife. This is the age of deception.
Big idea. A new world order.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is a big idea, but it is beyond the grasp of most people as to what it could possibly really mean. Everybody said, this is nice, the world is coming together. I've heard this on many occasions from people who, in all other aspects of their lives, appear to be at least a intelligent. But when it comes to these touchy-feely, fuzzy, emotional, liberal BS, it appears that their brain just drains right down into their shoes and stays there for a while. how in the world can anybody say that the New World Order, our one world government, our world federalism, or the New World Economic Order, I don't care which term you use, it all boils down to the same mistaken conclusion, when there is absolutely, ladies and gentlemen, nothing for you to base those feelings upon. For instance, here in the United States of America, we have a Constitution. This Constitution guarantees us a Republican form of government. Now, never mind the fact that the Constitution is in the process of being subverted. And a lot of what the Constitution limits government to is being ignored, and many of the rights protected by the Constitution for the American people have already been stripped from us and thrown in the trash can. Never mind that, let's look at the document itself. It is a document that tells us exactly what type of government we are supposed to have. It is, in fact, the supreme law of the land. Now, supreme law of the land means that it is the final word on any subject. It is the government, ladies and gentlemen, or at least what the government is supposed to be. We can read that document, the Bill of Rights, and the articles in amendment thereto, and we can see exactly what our government is supposed to be. We can see what powers have been granted to government, how those powers have been limited. We can see what powers have been granted to the states, or because they have not been prohibited to the states, nor granted to the federal government, reside within the states, and if the states fail to exercise those powers or to claim those powers, then they lie with the people. We know what we have. We know what we had. We know pretty much where we're going, and we know what it's supposed to be, which at the current time it is not. Now, there's no mystery in all of this, ladies and gentlemen. Why would somebody give up a document that guarantees their freedom, that recognizes individual creator-endowed rights of the people, and has set out clauses to protect those rights from being infringed upon by government or by anyone else? That limits the power of government, that creates opportunity, and in fact was the document penned by our founders that for the first time in the history of the world ever truly set man free. Why would anybody give that up for some vague promise of some undefined, unoutlined, unseen promise of some utopian world government that is supposed to guarantee your well-being? Everybody thinks that it will be some kind of wonderful dream come true, yet there is no evidence of that. The fact that it's going to be socialist tells us an awful lot about what is coming, doesn't it? How can we tell? Well, it's very simple, ladies and gentlemen. We look at the history of socialism. We look at every country on earth that has a socialist government. We look at the ultimate extension of socialism, which is communism. We read the writings of Karl Marx, Friedrich Engels, the writings of V.I. Lenin, Stalin, Trotsky. We look at the great socialist experiment that was the Soviet Union. We can venture southward from our southern border to Cuba, and we can see how that has worked. And so we know that the great socialist dream is nothing but a lie. We know that the great socialist promise is nothing but a lie. We know that socialism, when absolutely applied, does not work, has never worked, can never work, will never work. We know that socialism always results in loss of freedom and varying degrees of control over the population, which always increases as time goes by. These are not guesses, ladies and gentlemen. These are truths. And these are truths that anyone can discover upon the sloppiest, most basic investigation that can be conducted. These are things that we know. So why is it that a great number of the population keeps propelling themselves in that direction, which is guaranteed failure, based upon the theories and the philosophies of a man, Karl Marx, who was an abject, total failure? Everything that he ever did in his life. He was a Jew who hated Jews. He hated blacks. It's in all of his writings. He was a racist. He made no secret that the purpose of socialism was the ultimate control of the masses. The man abandoned his family. Couldn't do it very well. Most of his ideas and writings were abject and obvious plagiarisms from Friedrich Engels, who also supported him because he was not able to support himself. Karl Marx never made a nickel in his life. He was a parasite. And maybe that's why his system of socialism so appeals to him. You see, it is a religion for victims. Socialism, ladies and gentlemen, is a religion for victims. And without a victim class, socialism cannot exist. Why do you think they're trying so hard in this country to make every person some kind of a victim of something or someone? Because they must have more and more victims in order to convince them that socialism is the answer, because socialism promises a daddy to take care of the children who are victims of the world around them.
That's what your whole legal system's about here, especially on the war on drugs. To make us victims,
of course it is,
to make us into criminals.
How do they bring this about? How do they fund these tremendous projects and think tanks and black projects and covert operations and propaganda machines that bring this thought process about? Because this is not a thought process that develops naturally in the minds of any individual human being.
They call it programming.
It is something that is inculcated, brainwashed,
yes,
if you will, through a process known as psychopolitics. Psychopolitics. And next week we're going to be covering brainwashing and psychopolitics, the Soviet system, which is in fact the international communist socialist system of bringing about the future that they perceive they want the world to be. But all this must be financed, ladies and gentlemen, and how is that done? Well, that's going to be the subject of today's broadcast. I'm going to tell you how it's done. I'm going to tell you where that money comes from. I'm going to tell you what that money is used for. I'm going to tell you into whose pockets it goes, and I'm going to tell you why. So you had better be prepared with pen and paper and an open mind. And remember what I told you. Read everything. Listen to everyone. Believe absolutely nothing unless you can prove it in your own research, in your own right, in your own investigation. Remember, the truth is elusive at best. And if you depend upon someone else to tell you the truth without doing your own checking, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to give you plenty of documentation today from which to conduct your research. And there's much more out there. Much, much more. And I'm going to begin, excuse me, I'm going to begin years ago when I was just a young man and had volunteered for Vietnam in my vast stupidity and ignorance, thinking that I would be serving my country. Was not true. Vietnam wasn't about this country or the Constitution or freedom or any of those things at all. I received orders, ladies and gentlemen, to report to the United States Naval Security and Intelligence School on Coronado Island at San Diego, which I did. While there, I was trained for many things. One of which was to function as a Pacific Area briefing team member, as a member of the Office of Naval Intelligence. I was trained on external and internal security procedures. I filled out all the paperwork that was necessary for me to receive the highest security clearances that could be obtained. I went to special schools for booby trap identification and disarming. And then, for some strange reason, after all of that specialized training, I was sent to Vietnam to a place called Camp Carter, which was the headquarters of Naval Security and Intelligence in I Corps. At Camp Carter, I was invited into the commanding officer's quarters, and he asked me, "Cooper, how would you like to command a patrol boat?" Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's not every day that an enlisted man in the United States Navy is offered the command of a combat vessel in wartime. And so I did not hesitate at all. I said, "Captain, I would love to command a patrol boat, although I'm not sure that I have any of the qualifications that would be necessary for me to do such a thing." He told me not to worry about it and dismissed me. And within a couple of days I received orders to report to the Da Nang Harbor Patrol commanding officer, and I did that. And I was told by him that I was going to be given command of a 45-foot picket boat. I had no idea what he was talking about. Never seen a picket boat in my life, didn't even know what one looked like. He said a load of them had just come in on a freighter, and they were moored to a buoy beside the Harbor Patrol Pier, and that I was to go down and go through all of those boats and take my pick of the one that I wanted. So I did that. I went through all the boats and I picked the very best boat that was in the best shape, that needed the less maintenance and preparation for combat duty. And then I began to select a crew. Well, I served as a patrol boat captain with this picket boat in the Da Nang harbor, which mainly was maintaining the security of the ships moored or anchored in the harbor, loading supplies for the war effort. And this picket boat was really something, ladies and gentlemen. I really had enough weapons and ammunition to do just about anything that needed to be done, anywhere that it needed to be done. And then later was transferred up to Qua Viet near the DMZ, where I served again as a patrol boat captain, only this time as on a river, with the Dong Ha River Security Group, which was another branch of naval security and intelligence, as was the Da Nang Harbor Patrol. And up there, we participated in combat on a nightly basis. And that's no exaggeration at all. Every night, 1 or 2, sometimes 3 or 4 boats on the river came under fire or brought the enemy under fire, and we participated in combat action. While there, I earned the Naval Commendation Medal and the Naval Achievement Medal, both with the V for Valor. Our unit earned the Naval Commendation Medal and the Presidential Unit Citation, and a whole bunch of others that I can't even remember. When I left Vietnam, I went to the USS Charles Berry DE-1035 as an undercover agent for the Office of Naval Intelligence, actually ONI. And when I had uncovered what I was sent to uncover and made the arrest that I was instructed to make, I was then transferred to Commander-in-Chief of the United States Pacific Fleet and assigned to the intelligence briefing team. At that time, I was a second-class petty officer. And when I was on watch, I was the petty officer in charge of the command center. And when I was not on watch, I served on the intelligence briefing team for the Commander-in-Chief of the United States Pacific Fleet. I saw everything, ladies and gentlemen, of a classified nature that came into that headquarters. I assisted in the preparation of all of the briefings that were ever conducted for the Admiral and his staff while I was assigned to that command, and to high-level government officials when they came to participate in those briefings. While on watch, I was the designated SPCAT operator, which is Special Category Top Secret Messages. I was the one who encoded messages on the KL-47 and sent them out when top secret sensitive information or sensitive compartmentalized information communications were sent directly from the command center. Now, you have to understand that normally they're sent from the communications center, which was on a level below the deck that the command center was on. But when a message needed to be sent immediately, I was the one who did that. When top secret messages came in on the KL-47, on the teletype, or when they were sent up to the command center from the communications center, all top secret messages, all top secret SI, or sensitive compartmentalized information messages, passed through my hands while I was on watch. Now, I was not on watch every day, ladies and gentlemen, so I didn't see every single thing that ever came in while other people were on watch. But during my watch, I did. And as a member of the intelligence